Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, everybody. Today is episode number 78. Every week that number gets bigger, and I just want to say something about that. That is just what you call discipline and consistency. 78 weeks in a row, uninterrupted. We didn't miss it, nothing. This is our 78th straight week of dropping an episode.
We talk about discipline and consistency all the time, and if we're not modeling it here, I don't know where we're modeling it.
Yeah, we are practicing what we preach, is what I would like to say all the time. So, anyways, glad that you're all back listening. Dave, we got a good show in store today. We got some, numbers. We got football is officially back. This weekend was the second week of college games, but the first week of NFL games just dropped off, or just kicked off this past weekend. So it's going to be. We got a little football preview going on in the show today. We got a whole lot going on. But Dave, get us started with number 78.
This is going to be quick. But there's an all-timer on the list. So number 78, Bruce Smith. He's the one. He starts the list. NFL, 19 seasons he played, 11 Pro Bowls, 9-time All-Pro, 13 seasons of 10 or more sacks, 200 in total, which is the all-time leader, and he's part of 2 all-decade teams. I don't know how it gets much better than Bruce Smith here.
There's not much to say. He is the ultimate number 78. He is you could argue he's the best ever on the line. You can argue, there's other great players. We just saw, Bosa get a huge contract, 120-something million guaranteed. Bruce Smith was a force to be reckoned with for so many years. And yeah, he's the all-time, in my opinion, he's the best ever to line up and try to hit the quarterback. Virtually unstoppable for nearly 20 years in the NFL, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, really incredible. And on the other side of the ball, we had another great number 78, Anthony Munoz. 13 seasons, 11 consecutive All-Pro seasons. He's also an lineman that caught 7 passes, 4 of which were touchdowns. So Anthony Munoz, he made the list as well.
Yep. He's no slouch. Anthony Munoz is no slouch at all.
No.
Great player.
No.
You know what I mean? But obviously, when you're messing with Bruce Smith to start the list, it's pretty hard to go anywhere else from there. Other than those two, there really wasn't anything else for 78. But you're our resident.
There's a few other Hall of Famers, but not worth throwing in.
You're our resident NASCAR expert. So what's going on in the race circuit?
Yeah, so there was a couple people that have driven the 78 car. Reagan Smith was probably the most notable name and drove it for the longest time, but didn't have the most success there. Jim Paschal, 3 wins, 11 top 5s, and get this, only 32 starts. So he had the most success with the 78 car.
What the hell? Was it only 32 career starts for him or just in that number?
In that number.
I was about to say, there's no way you go win 3 races and 11 top 5s and 32 starts and you just don't race anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No, just that number.
I had to do a little homework check on you to make sure you weren't missing anybody here at number 78. And me being our resident hockey expert, I just can't believe you passed on Bo Bennett. He played for the and listen, there's a lot of significance to Bo Bennett in us. Most notably he most recently played for the Tucson Roadrunners, which is the Phoenix Coyotes affiliate here in the Valley of the Sun. You know what I mean?
I thought this was all timers on the list.
Listen,
you just threw out Bo Bennett.
Don't be passing on Bo Bennett, okay?
Bo does not sound like a hockey name either.
No, not at all. It's phenomenal. But hey, listen, we got to have a little fun with this list every once in a while,
You're right. And listen, there was no 78s in the NBA ever. No one's ever worn it. And there was no one of any significance in Major League Baseball. So disappointing news for the number 78. It would not have made our Tournament of Champions back in March. But still, Bruce Smith on the list. He makes a pretty strong case.
He makes a strong number. Yep, he makes the number strong for sure. So, anyways, here we got Bible verse comes from you. So go ahead. Why don't you read it? Let's talk about it and let's go from there.
Sure, it comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. It's, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. I thought that was a perfect tie-in to the episode that we're going to do today. Thoughts on the Bible verse?
It's phenomenal. It's one of the best. It's one of the best Bible verses. I mean, obviously, if there was a tournament of 64 Bible verses, this one is in there. I don't know what kind of seed it's going to get. We're not going to argue about that. But this verse is so awesome in the sense that, like, it's so fitting for the state of the country that we live in right now, right? Like winners are frowned upon. Winning is bad. Winning is not good. Winning means you have a big ego and you don't care about people and you only care about yourself. And that's just not the case. Winning should be celebrated at all levels. And this Bible, and that's what makes the Bible so great. This is a book that was written thousands upon thousands of years ago. And there's a freaking verse in there that talks about, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one wins? Like, are you kidding me? It's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you need to run the race like you're trying to win it. My 50 miler this weekend.
Because we should be trying to win.
I'm going to try to win my 50 miler. I'm not going to win my 50 miler, but I'm going to try to win.
You should.
It's a race.
Do you think you get a big prize if you come in? Do you think you get a big prize if you come in last?
No, you do get the T-shirt and the medal. You know what I mean, for finishing when you cross the finish line.
You should.
Yeah,
and you should.
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm good with the T-shirt because you compete in the event. It's not a trophy or anything like that. You know what I mean? But there, I do believe in long ultra races like that. There should be something designated for the top 1 or 2 or 3. The winner should get something.
Absolutely.
And a lot of ultras are not like that because it's more community based. Everyone helps each other out because they suck and it's a long suffer fest. But if it is labeled a race, then there should be a prize for the winner. Just the winner should get something different than everybody else.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
But yeah, great verse.
So yesterday was 9/11, which I don't know for you, but it still brings back all sorts of memories for me. Still an incredibly somber day as an American, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it always brings back the memory of exactly where I was, what I was doing, how I was feeling. And I can't say that probably about anything else in my 40 years on this planet other than birth of kids, wedding, like obviously that kind of stuff. But like moment in time where something outside of your control actually can bring you back to that moment. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I would argue that it's actually more significant in the history of the world. And I can vividly remember 9/11. I mean, this is taking nothing away from being a father and being a husband and all that other stuff. But I remember 9/11 clearer in 2001 when I was 16 years old than I do my wedding day, and I do like being there when my kids are born. Like I remember that to a T. All those other things get grayed out and blurred out. I mean, the birth of your kids, you're there and it's suffer fest for your wife and everything. And you're there and you experience all that in the holding of your child for the first time. Those memories don't go away, but it's blurred. It gets blurry after a while. 9/11's never gotten blurry. I know exactly to a T, like you said, where I was, when it happened, how that entire day and then post 9/11 happened. So I would argue that it is the biggest event. You're going to be 40. I'm going to be 38. That is the biggest event I've ever experienced. And I remember it more than any other event, I think, in the history of my life anyways, in 38 years on this planet. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree to that. And one thing that stands out to me from that experience, as tragic as it was, is how our country bonded together. We became united. Now, I won't say the politicians were because there were some hidden agendas there. But we as a people came together in a way that I had never seen. And I really, honestly, I miss that feeling. I don't miss the tragedy of what happened, but I miss that feeling of a country so united on a front that we could have conversations about things. You could share your opinion about things without just instantly being labeled a racist. You didn't have to just be on one side or the other side, or you were hated by the person on the opposite side. And man, I really miss that. You know, everyone now seems so stuck up their own ass that they can't admit when they were wrong, when they were lied to, when they maybe didn't understand something and see the whole picture. We just dig our heels in, feels like deeper now, and just want to try and prove our point even more, even though maybe it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I do miss that unity of the country, because I feel like we're so divided now. Everything is so divisive in what we see. That's a big problem.
Yeah. Like, let's back up to that moment, right? The day after, the following. The surface level view, or the 20,000 foot view, is for the 99% of people who don't know, who didn't know, and then especially in that moment, none of us knew, you know, whatever hidden agendas, who actually knew what was going on and all that stuff behind closed doors. If you take that away and you just look at the country as a whole, that on September 12th, because like I said, 99% of people didn't know any of the story other than there was a terrorist and they attacked our country. That bond that was created amongst Americans was unbelievable. Flags everywhere, let's, kill a motherfucker for flying a plane. Now the hidden agenda and all that stuff, like I said, take that out of the view and you just take the camaraderie of the country for the normal citizens that cared about the country and came together. Like, yeah, that, that was unbelievable. Like the patriotism in the country as a whole right after that was amazing. What came of it afterwards? Yes, all the criminal bullshit, the spying on people, and all that other stuff. It's garbage. But you're not going to change that. But like you said, the camaraderie, the unity of the country afterwards. White, black, girl, boy, poor, rich, didn't matter. Everybody was together on a united front because of the tragedy and all the lives that were lost and all the Americans that were killed, and it happened on our home soil. But yeah, you can't replicate that, especially not today. It cannot be replicated. I don't see it ever becoming replicated again. I think we're too far down the hole of the division, like you said, and the right and the left, or whatever the hell you want to call it, Republican, conservative. I call them all corrupt. They're all on both sides of the aisle. They're nothing but crooked politicians, is what they are. But that won't happen ever again unless there's a major change in the country. Like, I mean, we're talking tear it down, start back over again. That is so long gone. It will never happen again. Our kids will never see that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's where we're going next, right? Because we remember a time before this, but who doesn't? Who's suffering from where we're at right now as a country? And that's our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are not getting the same experience that we got as kids. Now, that's not to say that, we had the same experience as our fathers, that our fathers had the same experience as their fathers. And it shouldn't be that way. Ideally, it should be better, right? You should be giving your kids a better experience than you had as a kid. And sadly, I don't think that that's happening through most of the country. Now, we can control that as full force fathers to an extent, but to some extent, we can't. We can't just do it by ourselves. It's going to take more of a community, more of just a change across the big picture of the United States versus just in what we can control. And one of the things, that I started to really think about was like, where is it happening? Like it's happening everywhere, right? And one of those places that they're not getting the same experience as us is in the classroom. Our kids, Kendall, Caroline, Madison, right? The oldest of our kids, didn't get to experience elementary school the way that we did. They missed basically 2 years of it. They missed an entire year completely out of school. Then parts of 2 other years, they missed beginning and or parts, had to go home for different parts of it. Oh, you got sick. Now you're out for 2 weeks, regardless of what it was, right? So they didn't get the time in the classroom. And that's really starting to show in test scores around the country. So I was like, well, let me see if the research backs up my thought on this, So I went back and I looked since 2020. Reading scores have dropped 4 points, and math scores have dropped 9 points since 2020. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
lot.
From a decade ago, just from 2013, they've actually declined 7 points for reading, 14 points for math. And that, to me, is a huge signal. It wasn't even just COVID. COVID kind of sped up part of that, but this was happening even before that happened, which
Yeah.
is astonishing to me. And where was it most noticeable? It's what everybody wants to talk about. We want equality. We want all these things. We want to make, we don't want to have, there's no racism in this country, no gender inequality in this country. Well, you know where this is affecting people the most, or COVID affected people most? Gender and race. Those are the two places. Female students dropped 11 points from 2020 compared to only 7 points for boys. And black students dropped 13 points compared to just 6 for white students. So that's where, I'm seeing like the initial part of like our kids don't have the same childhood we had. They're not being set up for success like we were.
Oh, absolutely. It's done intentionally. It's not like this is just accidental. This is just the way that the world is right now, especially our country. This is 100% intentional because they don't want smart kids, because smart kids know about money and smart kids know about how to read and write, and they get away from the system, right? Where they want kids to stay stupid. They want adults to stay fat. They want you to stay broke. The one that really pisses me off is math, because math is black and white. There's no gray in math, right? And this is why I love math. You like math. We both use math every day in our lives. And that's what, to me, from all the subjects, there's all the subjects. History, cool. We learn about the world and blah, blah, blah. And English, you can write a paper. Like that is so stupid to me, because like you can get graded on a paper, which is completely subjective, right? To the teacher at the time of whether they like the way you wrote it or not. I mean, obviously punctuation is punctuation, commas, periods, capitals, but what you write about and how you write is individual. Math is not like that. Math is very cut and dry. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. 100 plus 100 is 200. It's a right or wrong answer. And this is where there's so much disconnect in the country, because they try to teach math in stupid ways now, the way they carry factors and all that, instead of just teaching math the old school way. It drives me mad. It drives me nuts when I see this homework that the girls come home with, and I'm like, wow, this is what they're teaching you in math. No wonder why math scores are down so much. Math should, at its very basic fundamental level, should be the first thing that kids learn, because you will use numbers every day in your life. You should know how to read, and you should know basic math. Those are the two biggest fundamentals in my life. Now, science, history, learn all that shit. But the two with the biggest, actually there's three. The three biggest emphasis in school should be reading, math, and physical education. Those should be the biggest three. And those are, I mean, look at, like you just said, look at the numbers. Math scores are terrible. And I have a child that has an IEP for reading. Reading is hard, but it needs to be taught. But I have the perfect example of a child that got affected by COVID. I'm not blaming entirely on COVID, but the fact that she was out of the classroom, wasn't able to learn from teachers to how to read correctly, falls on the parents. We're doing the best that we can, but you know how kids are. Kids don't listen and want to learn from their moms and dads. They learn in that environment in school and from their friends and social. Well, Caroline didn't read for 2 years, and those were prime years. What was that? Second grade, right? I mean, you're talking fundamental reading. You're just getting out of like your sight words, and you're getting into words. And that's those for me. Like those are the big three: math, reading, and physical education. Those have to be the three most important subjects, and then you structure after that.
Yeah. No, completely agree. And there's things we can do as parents, right? As full force fathers, what can we do? One of those things is read with your kids at home from an early age. If you're just listening to us and you've got brand new kids, start reading to them every single night. Just let them process it and see the pictures and see the words on the page. That is so important to do every single day. And as they get older and they can start to read with them. Have them read some. Bryce and I, we start, and he'll read a page, I'll read a page. He'll read a page, I'll read a page. Well, now he's reading whole books. And that's fantastic. And here's the other thing, right? When we were in school, we had to read stuff that was forced down our throat, basically.
Yep.
Like, you have to read this book, this book, this book.
Yep.
Just make it fun,
Yeah.
whatever it is. If it's a comic book, if it's a, if it's a book about an animal, like whatever your kid's interested in, have them read that. As long as they're reading, that's all that really is important here.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's
one of the. Go ahead.
No, Finley's in kindergarten. She's just learning to read. You know what I mean? And it's the coolest thing. And listen, kids get excited when they can read a word. You know what I mean? And we're blessed. Like, Finley's kindergarten teacher is a saint. She's amazing. First of all, any kindergarten teacher is a saint, because that's got to be the most difficult age, because it's the 5-year-old kids. They just want to play all day. Trying to get them to sit and focus and try to teach them something is even better. But when she comes home and she can read the word the or and or whatever, I mean,
awesome.
you just see them light up. They light up. It's so bright and so awesome for them. And that's the thing, man. Read at home every night.
Yeah.
Even as adults, right? We read every day. You know, start that foundation when the kids are young. I hated reading.
Yep.
And that's why it took me till my freaking mid-30s to start reading again, because I hated it so much. Like you said, you're forced, you know, name a couple of the books. The Great Gatsby, The Scarlet Letter, Of Mice and Men, all these books we were forced to read, whether we wanted to read them or not, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yep, for sure.
I'm with you on reading.
And one of the things we do on math is when the kids get a test back, you know, we'll go through all the wrong answers to make sure they understand how to do it. And Bryce brought home a math test the other day, and he had gotten a few wrong, and they were just marked X's. And I mean, he's in second grade, right? So like, him understanding the concept is more important than what the actual score is on the test. So what we do is we go through. I find all the ones that are wrong. I'm like, hey, I want you to redo this. And some, he's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that one wrong. You know, he just rushed through it. But other ones, he just completely didn't understand the concept. So we'd sit there and we worked through it and figure it out until he understood it. And then at least you know he's understood the concepts and can apply that moving forward. But instead of just getting a paperback that just says, nope, this is wrong, and he never gets it, well, that's not going to help solve the problem. So we just make sure that those types of things are done.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a big one. I mean, you could always get the cool grading system that we have out here now. You know, you get a 1, 2, 3, or 4. You know what I'm saying?
It is solid. Well, you know, math is hard for people, so figuring out those percentages is difficult. And that's proven by where we stand in world rankings as far as education goes. This is something that was astonishing to me. You know, instead of focusing on those critical things to make our students better, we're teaching them bullshit that doesn't matter. What's it like to change their gender? Telling people that racism is still rampant in this country, instead of teaching the basics like reading, math. It shows on the U.S. scale, we're ranked 22nd out of 85 countries in reading, mathematics, and science combined. I think math itself was 37.
I believe it.
It's fucking terrible.
You want to know how it's easily known?
And for the greatest country, at one point, the greatest country in the world, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just look at the national debt. That just tells you everything you know about how bad people are with math.
Oh. For sure,
it's unbelievable. I bet you. This is totally unvetted. This is just me shooting from the hip. I bet you 75% of people don't check their bank statements, don't balance a budget, don't balance a checkbook. I bet you 3/4 of the country don't do it.
Easily.
No.
Yep, no doubt about it. It's because most schools don't teach a personal finance class in school either.
No, and that's even worse.
Again, that's what we say.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. One other area.
Okay.
One other area where we're not giving our kids the same childhood as ours, or something even close to the same, is understanding the joys of winning and the pain of defeat, of loss, right? We've taught our kids over the last 20 to 25 years in this country that it doesn't matter if you win or lose, you're just as good as the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are the last generation where winning was actually encouraged, and you weren't just given a trophy if you lost. If you got first, second, or third place, you got a trophy. The first place trophy was the biggest, second place was the next biggest, and third place was the lowest, but you still got something. Everybody else got nothing.
Yep.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, we conditioned our kids to just not have to try anymore. You don't have to try. You get the same thing as the kid who worked their ass off. So if you get the same thing as the kid that works their ass off, why would you want to put in any more effort? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, you're like, wow, I can get the same thing as this kid. Cool.
Yeah, kids are lazy these days. I remember vividly multiple times being a kid playing in a championship game or series or baseball or basketball or trying out. I remember when you used to have to try out for a team, even in middle school. Now they play sports and there are teams that are no cut sports. Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
No cut sports? None? Nothing?
I was,
60
I don't,
kids on a cross country
yeah,
team, no
I don't
cuts.
even. It's amazing. I just, yeah. And it's not, yeah, it's not just at the elementary level where you're teaching kids the sports. It's moving on up the chain. And you know what? That mindset that we're instilling in kids there in sports is not just happening in sports. It's happening in school. It's happening out in the job market. It's happening in relationships. It's happening in every single thing that they do. They think they're just going to get whatever it is that they're going for because they showed up. And
Yeah.
that is not the case. Here's a hot take, right? Winning's actually important. It's actually important, but you know what? So's losing.
Yeah.
And having a distinction between the two and understanding like what I said at the beginning of this, the joys of winning and the pain of defeat is really important. It's paramount. Because if you
Yeah.
don't ever experience that loss, what it feels like to give 100% and lose at something, how is it ever going to push you to get better, to actually taste victory, to see what that is like? We don't do this in professional sports. We don't give everybody a trophy.
Yeah.
At the end of March Madness, UConn this year held the national trophy up. Do you even remember who they played in the Final Four? I really don't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who fucking cares, right? Who cares?
Winners are.
But UConn won the national championship this year. And that's something that as soon as they get out of school, like elementary, middle, high school, real world just hits them right in the face.
Yeah.
And it just does. And that is terrible for us as parents to allow to happen.
Yeah, I think yeah, winning is very, very important, and you should strive to win. You brought the Bible verse in today, but I think losing is just as important. Now, when kids lose, they just cry and they get depressed, and it's okay, baby, rub their back and get them an ice cream cone. And nah, man, I remember crying when I lost championships in elementary school baseball. I remember crying because I got cut on a basketball team once, and it fucking killed me. But now, like I said, no cut sports. Because you don't hurt nobody's feelings. Like everything right now is tailored to feelings, whether it's sports, whether it's school. That's the whole new grading system out here. It said right in the email, equality. You know what I mean? And feelings getting hurt. Like, dude, it's not about feelings. Feelings will fuck you every time, man. It's about work, doing the freaking work, and knowing what it's like to win, knowing what it's like to lose, and then using the fuel, like Tim Grover or whoever. Losing sucks so much. Like he has a book written called Winning, right? He's one of the greatest coaches, personal, professional, coaches, one-on-one, professional development coaches, sports coaches, is winning, because winning doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a true statement, but I think losing, there's so much value in losing. Look at any of these people that you follow, right? Andy Frisella, these guys, they came from nothing. They didn't have anything handed to them. They got kicked in the face, had negative bank accounts from a business standpoint, got cut from football teams, and they used all that losing as motivation to win. And that's gone now. That doesn't exist anymore.
No. So what's one thing we can do about it? You can become a coach of your kids' sports teams. That's what I do. You've done that in the past. I mean, Coach Bryce's flag football, Coach Kendall's basketball, every season. This past basketball season, the league we were in before, you got a set of medals at the beginning of the year, and every kid had to get a medal by the end of the year for whatever you wanted to give it to them for throughout the season, right? And Kendall kept, every week she's like, oh, Dad, when am I going to get a medal? When am I going to get a medal? And I had to have that hard moment with her, and I was like, when you actually deserve a medal. And that hurt to say that to her. It did, dude. It hurt to say that to her. But you know what? Every week she played a little harder and a little harder. And in the last game of the season, she played her ass off. And she earned a medal. Like, she legitimately earned the medal that day. And I was so proud to give it to her. But I wasn't just going to give it to her throughout the season just because. She did nothing to show me that she wasn't practicing during the week.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't playing hard during the game. Why are you going to give somebody a medal for that? So you, as a full force father, you can do that. If you're a coach of your team, you can implement those things. I'm not saying you got to break all the rules and make kids, cry intentionally, but you can help instill that value in them of hard work, grit, hustle. Those are all things that are so important. We don't have it in our society anymore. Quite frankly, we're soft. And it shows. The statistics in this country are staggering. We've talked about them on the show, right? Obesity in kids, adults. It's astronomical. It's awful. There's a standard that we need to get back to, and it starts with us. It starts with us as full force fathers.
Well, parents hate me anyways because I've coached teams. Obviously, I've been a coach for a lot of years. And in my office, I have a great picture right above my desk that says a good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
My girls, all my girls, my kids and all the girls that I've coached respect the ever-living hell out of how hard I coach. And parents, too. There are a lot of parents in the beginning that were shell-shocked when they saw 10-year-old girls running sprints. And you know what, though? My girls were always going to be the most conditioned kids out in the field. And they were going to freaking fight tooth and nail to win. And parents come around to that shit after a while. I mean, there's always the softy libs that never do. Oh, my God, you hurt my kid's feelings, making them run or, whatnot. But that's just the way it is. Like you mentioned medals before the season. Funny story. We were at Rocky Mountain National Park over the summer. And I thought this is just today's day and age. So we went into the ranger station to get their ranger books. So when you go to a national park, if you're a new listener, we do a lot of national park hopping. When you go to a national park and you have kids, they have junior ranger books that they give the kids. And what they do while you're at your time in the park, whether it's 1 day or 2 days or a week, there are different levels. Kids 4 and under have to complete 2 pages. Kids 4 to 7 have to complete 4 pages. Kids 7 to 12 have to complete 8 pages. And then kids 13 and up have to complete the whole book. And you do that. When you do those things, you earn your ranger badge. You have to earn it, right? So my kids, they take pride in that. They get their books and when they see shit, it's all cool little fun activities in the book. Well, at Rocky Mountain National Park this year, we go in Rocky Mountain National Park and we go into the ranger station. We get, girls ask for their books, and the park ranger gives the girls the books and the badges. You get a little National Park Junior Ranger badge with a pin on it. And they gave the park ranger gave the girls, each one of them, Madison County family, a booklet with the badge. And so I said, whoa, why are they getting their badges? And the lady goes, well, just in case they don't complete their book or they don't get back, we want to make sure they get their badge still. I said, you can give those to me right now. I said, they're not getting the badge. They didn't earn the badge. They're going to do the book. I said, and we'll come back. I said, you can pin them like you're supposed to. Because once they finish the book, the park ranger pins them and they raise their right hand and they take the oath of the junior park rangers and they have to recite the freaking lines back to the people. And no, now they just give you the book with the freaking badge and say, oh, just in case you don't finish, you still want the kid to get a badge. And I said, I literally cut the lady. I'm like, you can hand those right to me. My girls just don't get the badge. It doesn't work that way.
Great. It's great. I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what they do these days.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's one other area that I think we should talk about, and that's faith, right? I think where we are now, media and all of this stuff that we're doing in our lives that we weren't doing years ago. We spend way too much time worshiping influencers, celebrities, athletes, musicians, but not God, not Jesus. Faith has seen a decline over the years. And again, this is something that we can help with at home. Are you praying? Are you reading the Bible? Are you going to church? Are you practicing your faith in any way at all? And do your kids see that, right? It's not just a matter of you doing it, but it's a matter of including your kids in that. God's given us the blueprint of life in the Bible, right? And we should be helping our kids on their spiritual walk, whatever that may look like. I'm not here to tell you how to practice your faith. I'm simply here and we want to say to practice your faith, whatever that looks like for you. It's different for everybody, and that's okay. That's the point of it. But your kids should be a part of it because it's a piece of this puzzle of life that if you don't have that, you don't have whatever it is for you dialed in, you're missing out on a big piece of it.
Yeah, and just like any other aspect of your life, your kids are always watching, right? And they see you pray. They see me read the Bible every morning. Madison prays every night. She writes in her journal every night. And I not that I go eavesdropping on her journal, but Madison in her journal every night writes, thank you God for another day. Amen. That's what she writes in her journal every night when she's done journaling, whatever she puts in her journal. I don't know. It's a 13-year-old girl, but that's how she ends. That's how she ends her Bible. And that's because she sees it. My kids, they get upset when they miss church because it's routine, right? They're in the routine. They love going to church.
Mm-hmm.
We love talking about it. It's a family time. It's a family event. And like last week when we were gone, we missed church, and the girls were like, man, we missed church. That, and then this week they have something, this coming up week, they have something going on Sunday morning. And the girls realized it was Sunday morning, whatever they're doing. And they're like, oh, we're going to have to miss church. And we're like, no, there's a Saturday mass at 4:00. And they were all excited about it. They're like, yeah, good. We don't have to miss it. You know what I mean? Because they don't want, because it's part of their life, part of their faith. And kids know it. They watch everything that we do,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like I said, the food we eat, the way we handle money, the way we work out or don't work out,
Mm-hmm.
the way we treat our wives, or the way our wives treat their husbands. Like they're always watching 100% of the time. And that's super, super important.
Yep. I thought coming off of that, it'd be a perfect time for our book recommendation for the week. It's very simple. I don't know if you have it right next to you there, but it's the good book. It's the Bible. That's the book recommendation. Yes, we've done it before. I don't think there's ever a bad time to recommend the Bible. So if you've never picked it up, now would be a great time to pick it up. Start to read it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can pick any place and start to read.
Yeah, I like the word you use, blueprint. It is. I've heard that before too. It's like it's a blueprint for life. And I just want to read one thing out of here because as we were talking about hard work and showing the kids, not to be lazy pieces of shit and yada yada yada, in Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. Well, I'll back it up a little bit because Proverbs 6 is the head of the title of chapter 6 is warnings against folly. All right. And we talk about laziness, showing our kids how to work hard, and getting out of bed in the morning, all that stuff. And verse in chapter 6 starts at verse 9. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, and a little folding of the hands to rest. And poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. That's Proverbs 6:9 through 12. Like, we got to teach our kids, man. There's, I say it all the time. If you haven't started to turn your life around, you're just, you won. You made another week of just slogging by or just passing by or being a spectator. Like, there's going to come a point in time where you need to be healthy. And if you're not, you will pay a hard price for it. There will be a time where you need faith. And if you don't have it, it won't be there. There will be a hard time where if you're not financially fit, you're going to get fucked. I don't know when that time is going to come, but there's no better time than now to get going. I say it all the time on this podcast. Yep. There's no better time to start than right now. And
right now,
yep. It's so, so true. There's really, like, I can't stress it enough. And guess what? If you get physically fit, financially fit, and faithfully fit, and then the world just continues to mosey around, all of a sudden everything turns great, dude, your life will just be that much better because you'll be healthy, you'll be fit.
It's not going to get worse.
Yeah, you can't get worse from getting better, right? It's not going to make your life any worse if you're fit. It's not going to make your life any worse if you have money in the bank and you're not a slave to the lender. You're never going to get worse by having Jesus in your life and being a slave to Christ. That will never happen. Those things will never make your life worse. Those will only make your life better and everybody in your life better.
Yep. A little housekeeping for this week. You are about 2.5 weeks away from the big race? 50 miles.
Yes. I am excited. I am.
You sound so enthused about that.
No, I am. I'm very excited. I'm very enthusiastic. I'm ready. I'd be lying if I wasn't somewhat nervous. This is new. This is a 50-mile race. I've never done a 50-mile race. And I heard something last week on Chad Wright was on with Nick Bear. I don't know if you follow either one of them, but if you don't, you should. Chad Wright, former SEAL, Nick Bear's owner of BPN Supplements, former Army officer. They were talking, and Chad was talking about, like, you're never gonna know unless you just do it, right? If you just keep going, go through the piles of crap to get through. He said, You never know about ultra running. He goes, I didn't know anything about an ultra until I signed up for a 50 miler, and I sucked and I battled and I slayed and I just, slogged through the thing and got to the finish line because I just didn't quit, right? Just don't quit. He goes, so if you don't know what it's going to feel like, the only way to find out is to find out. So I feel like that is good for my mental state. Like, dude, I have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, I've run 30 miles before, but I've never run 50, right? The fuck, you don't know. So I know, I know it's going to be a grind. I know it's going to be a slog. I know I'm going to be in pain, but it's all upstairs, man. And being, thankful, and by the grace of God, my 2 feet will be able to keep moving forward, and I'll be able to cross the finish line after 50 miles, and then we'll see, right? But if you don't do it, you're never going to do it. Yeah. And Chad Wright says it all the time. He goes, I think everybody in their life, if you are physically able, not if you're handicapped in a wheelchair, being a fat fuck doesn't count. It means, get skinny, lose your weight, get fit. He said that's one thing that he thinks everybody should experience in their life, is to experience running a 24-hour race, a 100-mile race, or go for 24 straight hours. It will take you to places, he said, mentally that you've never been. And I truly believe that, and that's, not putting the cart before the horse, but that's next on the list. After 50, it's 100, and it's exciting. I'm excited, but I am also, just it's the unknown, right? You don't know what you don't know until you're there, until you're in the fire.
Yep.
So
for sure,
it's gonna be interesting.
So hey, we're rooting for you. I know you're gonna get through it, so it'll be great. Just a matter of what time you end up at. So
yeah,
I know you've been putting in the work, and that's it's gonna show. Listen, we got holiday budgets. Holidays are coming. I don't know if anybody's paid attention, but they're on the same days that they were last year. Halloween's in October, Thanksgiving's in December, in November, and Christmas and New Year's is in December. So they're coming. You should start planning for them if you haven't already. Start budgeting. You're gonna want to get your kids costumes. You're gonna want to buy candy to pass out. You got holiday meals to prep for, gifts to buy. Like, all those things are coming. Plan for them. They're not emergencies, right? Don't increase that credit card debt anymore. We don't want to do that. And then my last little tidbit here before we get on to the football portion of the show is 2023 goals, right? How are you doing on those? We're almost through the third quarter of the year. Fall's fast approaching. Most people fall off any sort of diet that they're doing in the fall. They've got football, they're snacking, drinking beer. They got holidays that they're eating terribly for. So what are you doing? How have you been with your fitness goals, your faith goals, your finance goals? If you're sucking at them, now's the time. You still have time to get it together and get your shit together. You made a promise to yourself. Look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable and act accordingly. Maybe you can make it the rest of the way and turn those things around. So that being said, football is back. We are 1 week into the NFL season. We are 2 weeks into the college football season. And I think everybody wants to know, Brett, what are our picks for the College Football National Championship and for the Super Bowl? So, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I will be a homer. I'll be a homer here for the NFL. I'm going to go Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life play football, and that's taking nothing away from Peyton or Brady or Aaron Rodgers. But if you're talking, in my opinion, talent, arm, brain, ability, skill, he's got 2 rings now. I think they're the class of the AFC. I think Joe Burrow's there with him, behind him. Josh Allen and the Bills are there. Who knows what happens with Aaron Rodgers now with Dalvin Cook and Garrett Wilson and the Jets. The AFC East, I will tell you, is the hardest division in football now, in my opinion. It used to be the AFC North. A lot of times it's the NFC East. But I don't know how it's not the AFC East now. You have the Bills, who have reigned supreme. You have Bill Belichick, who's the greatest football coach ever with the Patriots. Mac Jones has got another year under his belt now. We'll see what happens with them. They just got Zeke. You have Aaron Rodgers now with the Jets. And oh, wait, the fucking Dolphins are unbelievably talented if Tua stays healthy. Great defense, unbelievable offensive players. So, I don't think there's any question that that's the greatest division. But what I think is going to happen is they're just going to beat the shit out of each other. They got to play each other twice, and that's going to affect some stuff. Rodgers, Rodgers used to cold weather. Allen's used to cold weather. But I still think the Chiefs are the class of the league with the Bengals behind them because Joe Burrow is, in my opinion, now that Brady's retired, I think he's the second best quarterback in the league behind Mahomes. Him and Josh Allen are, two. You could call them tied for two, in my opinion. But I think the Chiefs are still the class of the AFC. And then the NFC, I think it's actually a really weak year in the NFC this year. The Eagles got worse, in my opinion. The Niners didn't get any worse. We added some key players on the defensive side of the ball. Offense is the same. We got rid of Trey Lance to your Cowboys. But I think we're the class of the NFC this year. I think we're better than the Eagles. I think, and I'm not being a homer. I mean, most people probably would predict the Niners are an NFC title team. Our division's not great. The Rams are a dumpster fire. The Cardinals are the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL. And then, the Seahawks, they could be okay. You got good receivers, and Geno Smith got paid and all that stuff. But, I mean, I would go Chiefs Niners. And for the homer pick, I'm going to go with the Niners. I think Purdy's going to get over the hump this year after what happened to him in the NFC Championship game last year. But I don't see anyone stopping the Chiefs, especially if it goes through Arrowhead. Burrow's the only quarterback that's proven he can beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Josh Allen hasn't been able to, besides Brady. Brady beat him twice when Mahomes was a rookie, and then he beat him in the Super Bowl when he was with the Bucs. He's the only quarterback to beat Mahomes twice in the playoffs. Burrow's the only other one. So my opinion is Chiefs Niners. I'll go Niners just because it's my team. What about you on the NFL side?
Dude, I think we're going to get back to the early 90s. I think it's that time. Super Bowl prediction, Bills, Cowboys.
Oh, boy.
I think this is the year. I think this is the year Josh Allen gets over the hump and beats Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to get tested throughout the season. I think those games are going to make him better, and I think they're going to put him in a position to be able to go into Arrowhead for the AFC Championship and beat Patrick Mahomes to go to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I think this is finally the year that the Cowboys will beat the 49ers in the playoffs. They've had 2 straight losses to them. I think this is the year that they get over that hump, beat them. I do think the Eagles have gotten worse. I do not think they will win the NFC East this year. I think Dak senses the pressure. I think he seizes that pressure this year, goes after it. Cowboys don't have to deal with Zeke anymore. Tony Pollard's in the backfield. I think they know their team. They've got a receiving core that's ridiculous. Zach Martin got paid. Terrence Steele got paid. They've got the second best defender in football. Well, I would say he's the best overall defender in football in Micah Parsons. That defense is stout. Dan Quinn's probably not going to stick around forever. This is probably the last shot with him. I think this is their chance. This is the time. Bills, Cowboys. Cowboys come out on top.
Good. And now this is your area of expertise. College football, not my area of expertise. Well, you know it better than I do. I'm not a huge college person. It is what it is. Obviously, if you don't know anything about college football, you just need to know one thing. The SEC always wins the national championship. That's just a given. And there's always 1 to 2 teams from the SEC in the college football playoff. So my college football playoff, Georgia, I think they're undoubtedly the best team. I just don't see them winning it again this year because a three-peat is so fucking hard to do. Even all those great Alabama teams and, you name all those great teams all time. Like the three-peat is just virtually impossible. Miami, Nebraska teams, Clemson, when Dabo, they're a dumpster fire this year, but, with Sweeney and those guys, it's hard to win 3 in a row. But my Final Four, my college football playoff is Georgia. I think Alabama is going to fly under the radar this year because everyone thinks they suck, and this is a down Saban year. I think that's perfect for Saban because there's no better college football coach that can motivate his players if they figure out quarterback, which it seems like they did. I think they're going to be there. And then I'm going to go Michigan because I think Harbaugh wants a little revenge and the suspension, all this other crap. I think Harbaugh gets there. And then my outlier, this is where you could call me crazy. I don't know. For some reason, I'm going Florida State. I think they play in a bad division. If they can get by Florida in that rivalry game, you know what I mean? I think Clemson's a down year in the ACC for them. That was proven in week 1 when they got embarrassed by Duke. I think Florida State squeaks in there, and I'm going Michigan this year. Going with Harbaugh to win the national title.
All right. I like it. Some good picks. We got a couple similarities there, too. I'm with you on Georgia. I think they're going to be back. They're fantastic. It is really hard to do a three-peat. I don't know if that's possible right now in college football, but I've got Georgia there as well. I've also got Michigan. Jim Harbaugh got suspended for a couple games to start the season. Got embarrassed last year by TCU. I think payback's there. He wants to come back and do that. USC is an outside pick for me here. Caleb Williams is fantastic, Heisman contender. I think USC puts together a decent season, more than a decent season, a season to get themselves to the CFP. And then here's my crazy pick, Texas. I think Texas is finally back. I'm going to say Texas is back. This is going to be the year Texas makes it to the college football playoff, which would be fantastic. Their last year in the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is down this year as a whole. I think they run the table in the Big 12. I think they win the Big 12 championship, and that's how they get in over a team like Alabama, who will lose out to Georgia in the SEC championship game. And I have Georgia three-peating. Astonishing, like crazy to think, but I have Georgia three-peating national champions. So that's what I got.
I love your Nick Saban lineage in the college football playoff. Right, you got freaking Kirby Smart and Sark. I mean, it's just, dude, crazy.
Yep, it's great.
Yeah,
for sure.
I like it.
Well, that was an episode right there. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Do the work.
Well said. Everybody get out there, continue to live the full force life, and we'll see you next week.